under this elderberry bush, which is just magnificent. Look at all these elderberries that are going to come. The only thing, I have a design flaw here. I let this one grow, and now with all the berries and the weight, the branch blocks the main access path. That's okay, I'm just kind of moving around it. Anyway, under the elderberry and behind that little gate there is main crop garden number 2. And we're going to review it. Right away we have Shishandra berries that are growing along the post right here. Look, there's some dandies right here. They're just starting to turn red. They're not bitter, but they're not sweet either. Kind of a little bit astringent. And they're very healthy, so I eat them. Even though they're not totally pleasant. I could always make jam or jelly out of them, but I haven't done that either. I just eat them raw. I don't get too many. I'm taking advantage of what I have. Then right here we have some Swiss chard growing. I've been harvesting this. I probably harvested 2-3 times already. And then there's a celeriac. It's just starting to do a little bulbing here. And then we have, and you've seen one just drop. There's another one over here. Ground cherries. Got mosquitoes, so I gotta ward off the mosquitoes once in a while. So that's pretty yellow. Alright, you don't want to throw back your shells by the plant because you'll pick them up again. And here's another one. And then we're greeted with Swedish soup peas. And the vines are dying back, but we definitely have peas. Here's a really good one. Let me get a foot over there. You can see that they're got a brown color when they're not quite dried yet, and then they turn black. They're quite high. You can see way up here. They're bending over onto the bean trellis. You can see we have beans forming. I'm pretty sure most of these are scarlet runners. But I did plant some other types in here, so who knows. This here isn't a scarlet runner. That's a different color right there. Half the stuff I don't remember. I remember when it's done. I look at the color. Then underneath this, beginning of this bean trellis, I'm nursing some pawpaws. It's for transplanting north, and they're doing really well. These were planted here, I think, 3 years ago, and they were just barely making it the last couple of years. This year, they really put on a huge growth spurt. Out of 25, I think I counted 8 was still growing yet. So I don't know how many made it so far this year. But if I have, 3 or 4 that are strong and make it up north, then it was all worth it. And I have this amazing amaranth growing. Look at that. It's way taller than I am, almost as tall as the corn. Making tons of seed. I got this amaranth from some lady or not some lady, but a lady that visited like 3-4 years ago. And I planted it, and it kind of was weak and did poorly. Lots of them died. But it reseeded itself every year. And every year it's weak. Grew a couple seeds, I think, maybe, but never grew magnificent like this. Now we have the results of that 3 or 4 years of just reseeding itself. This seed is definitely going to have to save. Wow. All by itself. Okay, and then we have this bean trellis here. We'll move this away. You can see the horizontal part of the trellis right there, and then the beans are growing all over it. And I think it's about 10 foot long, maybe a little longer. And then we have the sweet corn. You see that's growing. This is the Joseph Lofthouse Paradise corn. I got it planted in a block. Well, a major row in the middle and then some on each side of the row, kind of being a block. But I had to prop some of them up because it was raining so much. The weight of the rain was bending them over. So there's like 4 or 5 of them in here that I propped up with sticks. And below, I planted all different types of potatoes. Now, somewhere along the line I read that potatoes and corn are companion plants, which, you know, who knows. Oh, look what I see down here. Look at that. He's not supposed to be there. He's supposed to be on a milkweed. Come on. Maybe it's pupating. On a milkweed, we have one right here. Let's put it right on here. There. Must have fell off. We'll check that out later, see if it's still there. But the potatoes I planted, and you know, they got a lot of sun in the beginning, and now the corn has pretty much cast mostly shade here. There's some dimpled sunlight in here, but also I've read that potatoes are shade tolerant, and we're testing that. Actually, I'm testing this in a number of spots. This is one of them. Then we have some type of Australian squash, or no, New Zealand squash growing in here. So we got our three sisters plus. We got beans, corn, and squash, although the beans aren't growing up the corn. And then we have amaranth, and we have potatoes. To the side we have grapes, which this is like the 4th or 5th year in a row they got all this mold on them or whatever it is. So I think I'm going to take these grapes out of here. I was going to take them out the last 2 or 3 years too, but I got a weak spot. Try it again, try it again. I do have one that's growing into that overhead trellis, and I'm not sure I want to take the shade away from it yet. So that one I'll leave grow. And all the rest of this, there's 3 grapevines in here. I'm just going to yank them out of there. Maybe I'll transplant them up north. I don't care if they're crappy up north. The birds will eat them anyway. So that's what I think I'm going to do. And we have some black currants here that are ripening again. This is a little later ripening variety because I've already been picking a bunch. I got some plants that are totally been picked already. So we get more. Over here we have kiwis growing. These are red beauties. And that's probably the biggest red beauty kiwi I've ever grown right there. Look at that. I've never had one that big. Of course, I've only been growing them for, I don't know, 3 years now. First year only had like a dozen. This particular vine is just loaded. There's lots of kiwis up in here. No, mulberries are kind of overhanging into this garden too. We're not done yet. Get through here without stepping on anything, which is difficult. Oh, we have some weeds growing in there. Let's reduce those weeds here. A little more sunlight in here and I don't want that blackberry growing. A little more sunlight in here to the potatoes. Here's another one. So in the center here we have some pawpaws that are growing. Hey, where do I have? Oh, right here. There we go. There are pawpaw leaves right there. There's 2 pawpaws. There's 3 pawpaw trees growing in this line. One is pretty small. And this is a male meter kiwi, which I have a lot of females that will pollinate. It had 4 blossoms this year. I'm looking forward to it being full of blossoms next year. You can see we got a lot of corn forming. Here. I've been spraying it with ferment and hot pepper water. I don't know if it'll keep the... I think last year I was experimenting with corn in a barrel, and I was trying to get as much corn, see how much, by weight, how much corn I could grow in one barrel. And I think a possum came along, chewed them all up. So, we're risking it here too. There's a lot of foliage around here. Maybe it just won't see it or won't be able to smell it, however they figure it out. Inside of here I have a cornelian cherry growing. See, there's the... See if we can get a focus on it. Right there. It's cornelian cherry. It's growing up even though the beans are smothering it. And then behind that we have artichokes, or sunroot. This is a little stand that I've tried to get rid of for years. I keep pulling it out of there and it keeps coming back. But this year I haven't been in here to pull it out totally. So I don't know, I probably should because I got some trees growing in there. So, and then we have, these are all female kiwis that are growing down into here from the trellis, up from the, you know, it's at the edge of the fence line. It's growing down into main crop garden number 2 here. And let me tell you, when this meter has a lot of blossoms, all of these females here are going to be just loaded, because they're always loaded with blossoms, but I don't have a male to pollinate them. I'm hoping they crash down the fence. There's so much weight. Okay, so that's the update on main crop garden number 2. Look at, here's a red one. This is going to be red corn. It actually does make red corn. That paradise, that loft house paradise. It's not very often, but I get them.